America loves to brag about the dream. White picket fence, two-car garage, dog in the yard. But in 2025, that dream costs about as much as a kidney on the black market. The average home price nationwide, around $400,000. That's $400,000 for drywall, a leaky roof, and neighbors who own 6 cats. But here's the twist. While most of the country's housing market is more inflated than a kid's bounce house, there are still pockets where you can buy a house for under $100,000. Not fixer-uppers that should come with a tetanus shot. Real houses, with walls, roofs, and sometimes even indoor plumbing if you're lucky. These towns don't show up on luxury real estate shows. They're not celebrity hideouts. They're regular places where the housing market never got the memo about inflation. Sure, there's a catch. Sometimes it's crime. Sometimes it's weather. Sometimes it's just the fact that the nearest Starbucks is 90 miles away. But if you're willing to trade convenience for affordability, this is your golden ticket. So buckle in. We're about to tour 10 towns where houses still cost less than your cousin's used Tesla. Like the video, so the algorithm thinks I'm worth a mortgage. Subscribe, because by the end you'll either pack your bags or thank the heavens you stayed put. Let's dive in. Johnstown, Pennsylvania. Johnstown is famous for 2 things: floods and cheap real estate. This old steel town once boomed, then busted, and now you can buy a house for the price of a decent vacation. Population 18,000. Median home price $55,000. Vibe, Rust Belt nostalgia mixed with dollar store charm. Locals joke, "We don't flip houses here. We just sweep the water out and move back in." The city was once drowned by a historic flood, and though that was over a century ago, the reputation stuck harder than mildew in a basement. But here's the thing, $55,000 gets you a 2-story home with hardwood floors and a backyard big enough to host a steelworkers reunion. The catch? Economic decline means jobs are thin. Also, winters here aren't for the weak. Picture a neighborhood where porches sag, but families still wave from them, where corner bars outnumber coffee shops, and where affordability beats glamour every time. Winters here also mean potholes so deep they could qualify as swimming pools. The upside? Property taxes are low and neighbors will plow your driveway if you bring them pierogies. For under $60,000, you might even get a detached garage big enough for all the snow shovels you'll need. Cairo, Illinois. At the southern tip of Illinois, Cairo sits where the Mississippi and Ohio rivers meet and where the economy seems to have stopped in 1973. Population 1,700 and shrinking. Median home price $45,000. Vibe, hauntingly historic with a side of eerie quiet. Abandoned mansions line the streets, reminders of Cairo's heyday as a river trade hub. Now, the town is struggling to hang on. But if cheap housing is your jam, Cairo delivers. You could buy 2 houses here for the price of 1 month's rent in New York. A local quipped, "We've got more ghosts than grocery stores." The emptiness is part creepy, part charming, depending on your taste. On the plus side, you can land a historic home with Victorian bones for under $100,000. On the downside, you might also be the only one on the block who still cuts their grass. It's not paradise, but if you like history, peace, and the thrill of living in what feels like a movie set, Cairo might be your jackpot. Summer humidity sticks like glue and the empty downtown feels frozen in time. But low taxes and historic architecture give buyers potential if they're bold. Some investors call it a blank canvas. Locals just call it quiet, sometimes eerily so. Either way, $45,000 for a house is hard to ignore. Danville, Virginia. Danville was once a textile and tobacco powerhouse. Now it's a sleepy southern town with houses priced so low you'll think it's a typo. Population 42,000. Median home price $95,000. Vibe, affordable southern living with a dash of small-town drama. Historic brick homes, wide porches, and tree-lined streets. Danville still has charm. But the factories are gone, jobs are limited, and the economy took a long nap. What it does have is affordability. $100 grand gets you a house with character instead of a 1-bedroom shoebox. A local once said, "We don't complain about mortgage rates. We complain about who borrowed our lawnmower." Imagine rocking chairs on wide verandas, neighbors who know your business before you do, and a cost of living so low it feels like cheating. If you can handle slower living and fewer job options, Danville is a solid bargain. The city is working on revitalization, with new breweries and art spaces popping up downtown. Schools and healthcare aren't top ranked, but the affordability eases the sting. If you're into historic charm on the cheap, Danville is a southern gem. Just be ready for humid summers that feel like walking in soup. Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Arkansas isn't just about Razorbacks and Walmart. Pine Bluff offers some of the cheapest housing in the country. Population 39,000. Median home price, $67,000. Vibe, affordable but gritty. This town has its challenges. Crime rates are high, the economy has seen better days, and downtown struggles to stay alive. But here's the kicker. $67,000 gets you a full-sized house, not a fixer-upper shack. Locals say, we don't call it cheap housing, we call it survival housing. And for families priced out of big cities, Pine Bluff can feel like relief. Picture old brick homes with big lots, magnolia trees shading the sidewalks, and a sense of community that persists even when the stats look rough. Pine Bluff isn't perfect, but for under $100,000, you might decide it's worth the gamble. The city has cultural gems like murals and music festivals that keep spirits alive. It's not perfect, crime and poverty are challenges, but it's affordable in a way most Americans can't imagine. Neighbors here rely on each other. If you want cheap property with grit, Pine Bluff is an honest deal. Decatur, Illinois. Decatur is a Midwest town best known for soybeans, corn, and housing prices that feel like a clearance sale. Population 69,000. Median home price $80,000. Vibe, classic Midwest affordability with a side of factory grit. Industry decline hit Decatur hard, but it left behind homes with prices that make the rest of the country jealous. For $80,000, you can own a 3-bedroom ranch with a garage, a yard, and maybe even a finished basement. A resident said, "Our biggest flex? We can afford yards bigger than LA apartments. Think quiet neighborhoods where kids still ride bikes, mom-and-pop diners serving pie, and mortgage payments lower than your streaming subscriptions." Decatur may not be glamorous, but it's living proof that affordable America isn't extinct. Soybeans may not sound exciting, but they fuel a steady agricultural economy. Parks and small museums add charm, and a vibrant local fair keeps families busy. Decatur isn't glamorous, but homes here are big enough to stretch out, with backyards that make city renters cry. Youngstown, Ohio. Youngstown was once a steel giant, then the mills closed and left behind both heartbreak and bargain housing. Today it's rebuilding slowly, but if you're hunting for a deal, this is the place. Population 60,000. Median home price $90,000. Vibe. Rust Belt grit mixed with cautious optimism. Yes, the economy took a beating and crime can be an issue, but homes here come with space, character, and front porches wide enough to hold entire family reunions. For under $100,000, you're looking at more than just shelter, you're buying history. A local quipped, "In Youngstown, the houses are affordable and the pizza's better than New York's." Don't argue with us. Picture tree-lined streets, churches on every corner, and neighbors who've been through hard times but haven't lost their humor. Youngstown's comeback story might take a while, but at these prices, it's worth a chapter. Local pride runs deep, with community events and rebuilding efforts breathing life back into the town. Winter hits hard, but cheap property makes it easier to cope. $90,000 gets you a 3-bedroom with a basement, something coastal buyers would faint over. Affordable, flawed, but resilient. That's Youngstown. Scranton, Pennsylvania. Yes, the same Scranton made famous by The Office. Life here is less sitcom and more budget-friendly reality check. Population 76,000 and median home price $98,000. Vibe. Quirky, affordable, and a little rough around the edges. Scranton's coal days are long gone, but its housing market never inflated. For under $100,000, you can buy a row house with more square footage than a Manhattan studio multiplied by 4. Residents joke, "We're not the electric city, we're the economical city." Imagine old brick buildings, mom-and-pop pizza joints, and neighborhoods where Michael Scott references are practically local currency. Scranton isn't flashy, but it's real. And real affordable. Scranton mixes gritty old neighborhoods with a growing arts scene. Festivals and parades keep things lively and the cost of living stays low. Sure, winters are brutal, but under $100,000 you can get a row house with real space. For those who love small city life with quirks, Scranton works. Macon, Georgia. Macon blends Southern charm with some of the cheapest housing in the state. Music legends like Otis Redding and Little Richard came from here, but today the spotlight shines on its real estate bargains. Population 156,000. Median home price $95,000. Vibe. Soulful, affordable, and a little weather-worn. Jobs can be hit or miss, but for under $100,000, you can snag a house with a yard and enough space for a barbecue bigger than your mortgage payment. One resident said, "We measure success by how many rocking chairs fit on the porch. Pecan trees, hot summers, and a music scene still echoing with history." Macon may not be Atlanta, but it's got heart and affordability in spades. The downtown is revitalizing with music venues, while historic houses sell for shockingly low prices. Summers bring heat and storms, but Southern charm makes up for it. Under $100,000, you'll find porches perfect for rocking chairs and sweet tea. Macon offers budget living with deep roots in culture and music. Flint, Michigan. Flint is infamous for its water crisis, but it's also one of the cheapest housing markets in America. For under $100,000, you can buy a whole house and still have money left for bottled water. Population 79,000, median home price $50,000. Vibe, struggling but affordable. Yes, Flint has issues, but the housing stock is real. Two-story homes, bungalows, even historic properties. It's not everyone's first choice, but for bargain hunters, the math works. A local joked, "We don't invest in fancy appliances. We invest in water filters, tree-lined streets, neighborhoods with potential, and a community that refuses to give up." Flint is more than its headlines, and for buyers, it's practically a clearance rack. Neighborhoods vary widely. Some are rough, but others show signs of renewal. For under $60,000, you can own a solid two-story house with room to spare. Community groups fight hard for change, and buyers with patience can find value. It's gritty, yes, but the affordability is undeniable. Erie, Pennsylvania. On the shores of Lake Erie, this city mixes industrial grit with scenic lake views, and homes priced like it's still 1995. Population 94,000. Median home price $85,000. Vibe, blue collar with a splash of waterfront charm. Winters here mean lake-effect snow that can bury cars, but summers bring beaches and sunsets that rival postcards. Housing is absurdly affordable, with whole houses under $100,000 that actually look lived in, not condemned. Residents laugh, "We shovel snow for exercise." It's cheaper than a gym membership. Think lighthouses, pier walks, and neighborhoods where neighbors still bring over casseroles. Erie may be cold, but its housing market is hot for the right buyer. The lake is Erie's biggest asset and biggest headache. Lake-effect snow can bury cars overnight, but summers bring sandy beaches and cheap family fun. Homes under $90,000 often have fenced yards and basements. Erie isn't luxurious, but for affordability with waterfront sunsets, it's a bargain. Rockford, Illinois. Rockford was once a manufacturing hub. Now it's a quiet city with homes that cost less than a new SUV. Population 146,000. Median home price $95,000. Vibe, industrial leftovers with Midwestern affordability. Sure, jobs have dwindled and crime can be a concern, but $95,000 can still buy a sturdy 3-bedroom with a yard. Try finding that deal anywhere near Chicago. It's impossible. A local said, "Our biggest traffic jam is at the Dairy Queen drive-thru. Tree-lined boulevards, historic brick schools, and neighbors who wave at strangers. Rockford proves affordable America still exists." Rockford has solid schools and plenty of parks, but it also struggles with crime. Still, affordability keeps families here. Under $100,000, houses often come with garages, hardwood floors, and decent yards. If you want Midwestern living without Chicago's price tag, Rockford is the clear answer. Toledo, Ohio. Toledo sits on Lake Erie with a housing market that never bothered joining the nationwide frenzy. Population 265,000. Median home price $90,000. Vibe, blue collar, affordable, and lake adjacent. Yes, the city struggles with crime and job loss, but $90,000 here can buy you a house with a basement, garage, and even a decent yard. Plus, you're 2 hours from Detroit or Cleveland if you crave more action. Locals joke, "Our lake smells funny, but at least our mortgages don't." Picture sunsets over the water, affordable neighborhoods, and the chance to actually own property before you retire. The city has a revitalized downtown with art museums and minor league baseball, yet the housing market never overheated. Winters bring plenty of snow, but affordability makes it tolerable. For $90,000, you can snag a family-sized home with character. Toledo is unpolished, but practical. Shreveport, Louisiana. Known for its casinos and music, Shreveport is also a jackpot for cheap housing. Population 180,000. Median home price $92,000. Vibe, Southern grit with a dash of nightlife. Shreveport has economic challenges, but its housing market is a buyer's dream. For under $100,000, you can snag a spacious ranch-style house instead of a closet-sized apartment in bigger cities. A resident said, "We gamble at the casinos, not on mortgage rates." Shreveport delivers big porches, southern cooking, and a cost of living that makes moving here tempting if you can handle the humidity. Shreveport isn't booming, but it's affordable. Homes under $95,000 often include big porches and fenced yards. Cultural life thrives with music and Cajun food, while summers are sticky and storms heavy. For buyers priced out elsewhere, Shreveport is a reminder that Southern living doesn't have to be expensive. Gary, Indiana. Gary is often painted as a cautionary tale, but in real estate terms, it's a goldmine. Population 66,000. Median home price $65,000. Vibe. Industrial decline meets bargain hunting heaven. Once a steel powerhouse, Gary declined fast, leaving thousands of houses at shockingly low prices. Yes, crime and poverty are issues, but $65,000 buys a property investors drool over. Locals joke, our houses cost less than your car, but at least we've got parking. Gary may not be glamorous, but for buyers willing to bet on its future, it's a steal. Once called a ghost town, Gary has strong community activists working to bring it back. Houses sell for $65,000 or less, often with surprising square footage. Industrial decline is real, but so is the affordability. For bargain hunters and risk takers, Gary feels like an untapped market. Albany, Georgia. In Southwest Georgia, Albany offers charm, affordability, and just enough opportunity to make it interesting. Population 67,000. Median home price $95,000. Vibe. Small town warmth with southern quirks. Albany has faced its share of storms and struggles, but its real estate market stayed grounded. Under $100,000 gets you a family-sized house, not a cramped studio. A local laughed, "We've got more pecans than problems." Magnolia trees, brick homes, and friendly neighbors. Albany may not shine like Atlanta, but it doesn't charge Atlanta prices either. Albany has music history, outdoor trails, and pecan orchards that sweeten the scenery. Housing stays affordable even as inflation rises. For $95,000, homes often include yards and extra bedrooms. It's not Atlanta, but for budget-conscious buyers, Albany proves you don't need city prices for southern comfort. Peoria, Illinois. Peoria, the punchline of "Will it play in Peoria?" jokes, but it's no joke when it comes to cheap homes. Population 110,000. Median home price $90,000. Vibe. Affordable, practical, and pleasantly ordinary. It's the kind of city where nothing is too flashy, but everything is functional. For $90,000, you can grab a house that looks like it belongs in a family sitcom. Residents say, "We don't impress, we just provide." Tree-lined neighborhoods, minor league baseball, and mortgages smaller than car loans. It's simple, but simplicity works. Peoria offers theaters, riverfront festivals, and jobs in healthcare and manufacturing. Yet homes under $100,000 are still common. Winters bite, but affordability keeps people here. For under 6 figures, you'll find 3-bedroom homes with big yards. Peoria isn't glamorous, it's livable, which is what counts. Evansville, Indiana. Perched on the Ohio River, Evansville offers low-cost living with plenty of Midwestern charm. Population 117,000. Median home price $94,000. Vibe. Small city feel with neighborly energy. Jobs aren't booming, but costs stay low. Under $100,000, you'll find homes with porches, garages, and enough space for a backyard grill. A local quipped, "We spend more on BBQ sauce than our property taxes." Evansville is the kind of place where life runs slower, cheaper, and more comfortably than the coasts. Evansville has parks, the Ohio River, and a strong sense of community. Schools are modest, but housing remains affordable. $94,000 can buy a tidy ranch with a yard big enough for summer cookouts. It's a small city with a cost of living that feels like a hidden perk. Lawton, Oklahoma. Lawton is a military town near Fort Sill, and housing here stays remarkably cheap. Population 91,000. Median home price $96,000. Vibe. Military discipline meets bargain real estate. Storms are rough and jobs outside the base can be scarce, but $96,000 still buys a house big enough for a family. Renters from elsewhere can only dream of these prices. Locals say, "We train soldiers and sell cheap houses. Both keep us in business." With wide plains, steady rhythms, and mortgage bills smaller than your monthly groceries, Lawton proves affordability isn't extinct. Beyond the military base, Lawton offers nature trails, small businesses, and lots of affordable housing. $96,000 gets you a family home, often with garages and porches. Tornado season is tough, but mortgages here are gentler than most. It's practical living at bargain prices. Jackson, Mississippi. Mississippi's capital has its struggles, but cheap housing isn't one of them. Population 149,000. Median home price $90,000. Vibe. Southern capital with small wallets. Water issues and infrastructure problems make headlines, but homes under $100,000 are everywhere. You can land a bungalow or brick ranch without draining your savings. A Jackson resident said, "We pay less for houses and more for bottled water." Southern charm, historic neighborhoods, and low costs make Jackson a gamble that still pays off. Historic neighborhoods, strong community ties, and a low cost of living keep Jackson grounded. Infrastructure needs help, but under $100,000, you can find spacious homes with hardwood floors. Affordable, flawed, but cultural, Jackson is one of the last capitals where average families can still buy homes. Montgomery, Alabama. Montgomery has history, culture, and a housing market stuck decades behind national prices. Population 198,000. Median home price $97,000. Vibe. Historic, affordable, and unapologetically Southern. Civil rights history runs deep here, and so do the bargains. Under $100,000, you can buy a house with charm, hardwood floors, and enough space to raise a family. Locals laugh, our mortgages cost less than your Netflix password sharing fee. Montgomery may not be booming, but for budget buyers, it's worth a serious look. Montgomery offers history, food, and a slow pace of life. Housing under $100,000 isn't hard to find, with classic Southern homes dotting the city. Infrastructure struggles, but affordability is real. Neighbors are friendly, and property sizes make the price feel like a win. South Bend, Indiana. Known for Notre Dame football and not much else, South Bend keeps housing dirt cheap. Population 103,000. Median home price $95,000. Vibe. College town mixed with Midwest practicality. Jobs are tied to the university and winters are brutal with lake effect snow. But under $100,000, you can score a cozy home near leafy neighborhoods. Locals joke, "We shovel more snow than we mow lawns." Affordable homes, quiet streets, and a cost of living that feels decades behind. South Bend is far from flashy, but it's stable and affordable. Beyond Notre Dame, South Bend has an affordable housing market with historic homes under $100,000. Winters bring lake effect snow, but the summers are mild and green. Families find value here, with houses often including garages and basements. It's modest living that actually feels achievable. Wichita Falls, Texas. Forget Dallas and Austin. Wichita Falls offers Texas living at half the price. Population 103,000. Median home price $97,000. Vibe. Small city Texas grit with affordability baked in. Storms and extreme heat are regular, but so are houses under six figures. A tidy ranch-style home with a yard is common here for less than $100,000. A resident said, "Our AC bills cost more than our mortgages." With wide streets, barbecue joints, and a laid-back pace, Wichita Falls proves Texas still has affordable corners left. Wichita Falls mixes Texas charm with cheap housing. Summers are blazing, but homes under $100,000 are plentiful. You'll get yards, garages, and even extra bedrooms for the price of a studio elsewhere. Barbecue joints and wide streets make up for the heat. Fort Smith, Arkansas. Nestled on the Arkansas-Oklahoma border, Fort Smith keeps costs comfortably low. Population 89,000. Median home price $92,000. Vibe. Friendly, affordable, and a little rugged. Fort Smith isn't glamorous, but the value is undeniable. $92,000 buys more space here than triple that in bigger cities. Locals quip, "We may not have skyscrapers, but we have porches big enough for 10 rocking chairs." Riverfront views, small-town charm, and bargain homes make Fort Smith a budget-friendly win. Affordable homes meet small-town southern charm. $92,000 can buy a house with a porch, yard, and even fruit trees out back. The city has museums and historic neighborhoods, though the economy is slow. Still, affordability makes Fort Smith feel like a fair trade. Huntington, West Virginia. This Appalachian city has struggled with decline, but its housing market is a buyer's dream. Population 46,000. Median home price $85,000. Vibe. Rugged, cheap, and quietly charming. Yes, jobs can be scarce, but homes under $100,000 are everywhere. Neighborhoods come with history, character, and space. A local joked, "We've got mountains, rivers, and mortgages cheaper than your phone bill." Huntington isn't thriving, but it offers affordability and scenery that still impresses. Huntington's affordability draws buyers despite job struggles. Homes under $90,000 come with character and space. Surrounded by rivers and hills, it offers natural beauty alongside bargain real estate. Neighbors stick together, and the small-town vibe makes life cheaper and friendlier than big cities. Duluth, Minnesota. Perched on Lake Superior, Duluth delivers beauty, brutal winters, and affordable housing. Population 86,000. Median home price $98,000. Vibe: cold, scenic, and affordable. Lake effect snow buries the city, but under $100,000 you can snag a home with lake views. Residents laugh. We don't buy gyms, we shovel driveways for cardio. Gorgeous scenery, cheap housing, and endless snow make Duluth both a challenge and a bargain. Duluth's winters are intense, but affordability offsets the cold. Homes under $100,000 often include basements, garages, and lake views. Summers bring festivals and the scenery is unmatched. It's a trade. Heavy snow for cheap mortgages and a community that embraces outdoor living. Wichita, Kansas. Kansas's largest city mixes affordability with just enough opportunity to keep people around. Population 396,000. Median home price $96,000. Vibe: affordable, practical, and twister-prone. Jobs in aviation and manufacturing keep the economy moving, but the housing market stays low. $96,000 gets you more than just four walls. It buys you breathing room. Locals say, our tornado sirens double as alarm clocks. Wichita is plain but practical, and for bargain hunters, it's a solid deal. Wichita balances affordability with opportunity. Homes under $100,000 often have big yards and quiet neighborhoods. Tornadoes are part of life, but so are cheap mortgages. The city has a growing food scene and a slower pace, making it one of Kansas's hidden bargains. Akron, Ohio. Once known for tires, Akron now rolls out affordable homes. Population 188,000. Median home price $90,000. Vibe: industrial leftovers with affordable neighborhoods. Economic shifts left scars, but housing stayed cheap. A full-sized home for under $100,000 isn't rare, it's normal. A resident quipped, "We traded Goodyear for good deals." Akron may not be booming, but it's quietly one of the best bargains in the Midwest. Akron's affordability is its calling card. Homes under $90,000 are common, with neighborhoods offering tree-lined streets. It's practical, not flashy, but property here buys stability. Add local pride and accessible amenities, and Akron becomes a surprisingly strong choice for budget-minded buyers. Cleveland, Ohio. Yes, Cleveland makes the list, and no, it's not just a punchline. This city's housing market is still one of the cheapest in the nation. Population 360,000. Median home price $95,000. Vibe: sports heartbreak mixed with affordable living. From lakefront neighborhoods to old brick homes, you can buy property for under $100,000. The catch? Winters and Browns football, both equally depressing. Locals joke, our housing market is the only thing winning here. Cleveland is gritty, but real, and really affordable. Cleveland's sports heartbreaks overshadow its housing deals. Homes under $95,000 offer basements, porches, and space. Neighborhoods vary, but affordability is consistent. Cleveland isn't glamorous, but with culture, food, and cheap homes, it balances grit with real value for first-time buyers. Detroit, Michigan. Detroit's decline is legendary, but so are its bargains. Population 620,000. Median home price $60,000. Vibe: rebuilding city with rock-bottom prices. Yes, entire neighborhoods face blight, but affordable housing is everywhere. Investors love Detroit for its upside, and buyers love it for its prices. A local said, "You can buy a house here for less than your car insurance." Detroit is risky, but it's also the ultimate bargain. Detroit still battles blight, but its affordability is unmatched. Homes for $60,000 or less are common, often with yards. Revitalization efforts mean some neighborhoods are bouncing back. It's risky, but the payoff is property ownership that's still within reach of working families. Buffalo, New York. Surprise, it's not just wings and snow. Buffalo tops the list for cheap housing in 2025. Population 278,000. Median home price $98,000. Vibe: affordable, snowy, and fiercely loyal. Buffalo has endured economic ups and downs, but affordability stayed steady. Houses under $100,000 aren't unicorns. They're everywhere. Locals laugh. We get buried in snow, but at least not in mortgage debt. With passionate sports fans, revitalized neighborhoods, and housing that feels like a steal, Buffalo is the underdog winner. Buffalo's housing market is a rare northern bargain. Homes under $100,000 are plentiful, many with character and yards. Yes, snowstorms hit hard, but affordability keeps spirits high. With strong community pride and revitalizing neighborhoods, Buffalo proves you can still buy a house without selling your soul.
So there it is, 30 towns where you can still buy a home for under $100,000 in 2025. In a country where the housing market feels like a cruel joke, these places prove the dream isn't dead. It's just moved.
Sure, some towns have challenges. Declining industries, brutal winters, or no Starbucks within 50 miles. But for those willing to trade glamour for affordability, these are the last strongholds of the American dream.